Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to the Andrew Tate Show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be covering the NCAA head warns of student athletes extinction, expanded NCAA tournament, the Big 12 and ACC coaches not keen on the idea of the CFP buys for SSE in the Big 10, and make sure you stick around for later in the show when we'll be diving into the oddities of the day. Before we start, I'd like to ask that you like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tips and donation link is GSMCpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also just really helps the show. Tate is already starting off the morning by trying to distract me while I'm doing the intro.
Well, Faith, she got her hair and nails done, so her hair looks all nice and bouncy and cool. She's looking good. She's bringing her A game. She's bringing her A game on a Wednesday. So, as she was going, I just said, nice hair, which kind of threw her off.
See the little comment in the Zoom. Well, how are you, Tate?
It's already been, I was sharing earlier that it's already been a long day. I've been at the office. I get to the office at like 4. So I've been here for 8 hours already. So it's been an extra long day. And I still have, another 8 to 9 hours still to go.
It's just a typical work day for Tate, honestly.
It is called a long, long day. So, all right. So, what do we have going on, Miss Faith? Other than the fact that the hair is on point.
Thank you. I also got a new cup too, adding to the collection. Yeah.
I only support that McDonald's cup of yours. That's it.
This one's my cup though. I bought this one yesterday. I think it's cute. It has a little straw and everything. But anyway, so basically the theme of today's show is the drama of what I call the reality TV show of college athletics.
It is, because it just never stops. It just doesn't stop at all.
Stuff keeps going down. So
doesn't it feel like football doesn't start until the games are over? Like, once the football games are over, that's when all hell breaks loose, and that's when the reality television program kicks in. Last year it was the Pac-12. This year, everything's going on.
Complicated stuff. So
yes.
The NCAA head warns that 95% of student athletes face extinction if colleges actually have to pay them as employees. The NCAA president Charlie Baker said Friday that actions by Congress was needed to protect what he described as the 95% of athletes whose ability to play college sports would be endangered by a court ruling or regulation decisions declaring them as employees of their school. Speaking to a small group of reporters near the NCAA's Washington office, Baker was realistic but still hopeful about the prospect of Congress doing what it didn't do despite persistent requests from his predecessor, Mark Emmert, granting the NCAA a limited antitrust exemption that would allow it to make rules safeguarding college sports without the constant threat of litigation. His comments took on more urgency when a Tennessee judge ruled Friday that the NCAA could not block schools from using name, image, and likeness money to recruit athletes. Baker was informed of the ruling during his meeting with reporters and declined to comment. The NCAA said later in a statement that the ruling will aggravate an already chaotic collegiate environment. Whew.
So beforehand, you said you had some of this was kind of confusing. So yes. Is this the one that was kind of confusing to you?
Yeah, a little bit. So if you could possibly break down some of this, because I might not be the only one that seems like this.
Oh no. You're definitely not the only one on this one. Okay. So what they're saying is this, or what he's saying is this. in the world of college athletics, first off, you have Title IX, which means,
Hmm.
that women's sports, actually, you have to, whatever you do for men's sports, you got to do for women's sports.
Right.
And, and then there's all those Olympic sports. There's a lot of sports at universities that go on, but there's only one. Maybe if you're a lucky, very small group that are lucky to have two sports that actually turn a profit, most mostly it's college football that turns a profit, and
Hmm.
the rest of them cost money. For some people, basketball, the North Carolinas, the Dukes, the Kansas, schools like that, basketball makes money. That's where it ends. That's where the line ends. So when you think about all the other sports out there, they only cost universities money. Most universities are in the red. If you when you take out college college football, pretty much every university in the country sports program loses money. It just gets subsidized by the college football world.
Hmm.
So what he is saying is this: if the courts do not step in, there's going to be a lot of universities that have to make some very tough decisions. Hey, we want to keep pace with the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Ohio States and the Michigans and the Oregons, and the Penn States of the world, because they're going to be paying players. The Texases of the world, USC's, they're going to be paying players. So schools like Mississippi or Auburn, which is some of the bigger names, but the Vanderbilts of the world, the Oregon states, the Washington states, the Florida A&M, those schools, they if they have to start paying players, there's no money for the
Hmm.
lacrosse team.
Hmm.
There's no money for the soccer team. There's no money for the cheerleaders any longer. All that money goes away because most of these schools are barely hanging on and are barely making money. So when you look around and you take that money that they were making from football and now they got to pay players, that puts that whole program. The one thing that some of these athletics are looking forward to is football season, so they can get some of that television money and some of the football game money, so they can offset some of the other programs. Now they have to pay players. The football program's losing money. The students, are you going to raise the cost of tuition for the students so that they can keep these programs, or are they going to start cutting these programs? You know, Now, there's no longer lacrosse. There's no longer women's basketball. There's no longer this sport or that sport because, and what pretty much what he's getting at is he could actually, and this is just, speculation, but he's looking at a world where it's like, hey, we got to play players. We have to get rid of 95% of all the student athletes on campus because anyone that's not making money is sinking the university at that point. There are some universities, football makes so much money that it pays for some of the programs that students go to. Now, some of that money is going to have to go to, hey, we got to pay these guys. And so what he's saying is that unless the federal government steps in and give antitrust exemption, then meaning that, okay, you know how like the ruling that came in and they said, you can't punish universities for name, image, and likeness, and
Hmm.
they're opening it all up. Well, they're hoping that the government will step in and give them the ability so that they don't have to worry about being sued and things, so that they're not finding themselves in court losing battle after battle after battle, which that's what they're doing right now. And so if they gave them antitrust exemption, then they can put a stop to, hey, we don't have to pay these players, or we don't have to make them employees. That's what he's talking about. There is a slippery slope here that could destroy college sports. As everyone tries to keep up with the Jones, you have to make that decision. Do you want to keep, let's say, the University of Georgia from, you want to keep them to keeping up with the Alabamas and the Ole Misses of the world, the Michigans and Ohio States of the world, or, and that may cost Georgia getting rid of women's volleyball, women's cross country, lacrosse, and everything else, but keeping the football program viable. That's what he's talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Because
does.
these universities are losing massive amounts of money. Their athletic departments are.
Hmm.
I have, let me see if I have this here. When you look at some of these universities, and they have very, very lean, uh, yeah, I do have it here. Like the highest grossing universities that are turning a profit. It's not a short list, but when you think about the hundreds of universities out there, Ohio State is one, Texas is two, Alabama's three, Michigan's four, Georgia's five, LSU's six, Texas A&M is seven, Florida is eight, Penn State is nine, Oklahoma is 10, Auburn 11, Michigan State, Indiana, Virginia, Florida State. Gets that long until you get to Florida State, who is an ACC team. That's the first ACC team that actually hits there. Virginia and Florida State finally gets there. There are no Big 12 teams. There's no, all these other universities. When you look at that list and you're looking at the top teams, they're all SEC, Big Ten, SEC, Big Ten. And
Hmm.
if they're not SEC or Big Ten, they're about to become SEC and Big Ten. Like on this list, Texas and Oklahoma, they're about to become
Hmm.
SEC. You understand where I'm coming from?
Hmm.
These universities these universities are struggling. And if it came down to, hey, we have to pay players and we have to get rid of programs, there's going to be a lot of athletes that are playing non-traditional sports, or what they call Olympic sports, that are not going to be around. And think about this. You live in the state of Georgia. You go to
Hmm.
Georgia University. If someone said, hey, Alabama's about to win the national championship again, we got to start paying players, but we're going to have to get rid of women's cross country and lacrosse.
Hmm.
And I don't know why I keep picking on those too. Most people are going to be like, get rid of those. But it's a travesty to get rid of those. Those
Yeah.
programs do a lot for the university. They put their heart and soul into
Hmm.
their sport. And imagine your sport going away just because we have to keep pace in football.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's
Hmm.
what he's talking about. Does that make sense? Did I
Yes.
explain that, or am
Yeah.
I
Yep.
even more confusing? Now you're like, I just canceled the show today.
No, it makes a little more sense now. It's just, ooh, complex. All of this is just so
Ooh,
complicated.
it is. It is. And and it really does come down to, if the government steps in and, like he says, gives the university antitrust exemption so that they don't have to pay players.
Hmm.
But I like this whole name, image, and likeness. I do think the players should get paid. And here's the reason why. Universities make millions of dollars. When you look around, and let's use these Big Ten and ACC schools or SEC schools, and you start looking around, and Ohio State's going to make $100 million just off their television contract. We're not talking about ticket sales or jersey sales or anything else. $100 million this year, right around $100 million just off the football team. And before name, image, and likeness, you couldn't even buy a football player a hamburger without getting in trouble. Now they're making millions, and college football is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and these kids were not even allowed to get, a hot dog after the game. If a booster came over and said, "Hey, kid, you had a good game," you're like, "Man, I'm really hungry. Hey, here's a hot dog." That's an NCAA violation.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it came from. Something has to be done, because I don't want to see college football destroy college athletics. But it is headed that way, because with this name, image, and likeness, with the fact that the universities and the colleges and Congress hasn't stepped in, there needs to be like a commissioner or someone that can kind of step in and balance this out. Because if you keep it the wild, wild west, that dollar figure that these kids are going to get, hey, if you're an all-star quarterback, I'm going to Georgia. Well, next year, hey, I know you're getting $1 million. Why don't you get $2 million? You come to Alabama. Forget the $2 million. Here's $5 million to go to Ohio State. Eventually, it's going to destroy college athletics and maybe some universities.
Yeah. Didn't you say earlier, though, that you thought it would be a good idea for the university to pay them as employees?
Yes, I do think it is. But it needs some guidance. If you came in, that's the reason why I think if college football broke away from the NCAA, or the NCAA worked on something where it's more of the NFL model, you put a commissioner that is in charge of college football. You set a program up where each school has a salary cap. This is how much a college football player gets paid. Okay, everyone gets a uniform price, salary across the board that's reasonable, where these universities aren't getting crippled, but these kids are getting some money. Right now, it's the Wild West, so it's just unregulated. Hey, we want a championship. So Texas A&M goes out there and they say, we're going to buy every player that we can. The heck with the future. And they raise the price. And then Georgia's like, oh no, we got to keep pace. So we got to raise the price, and we got to keep on. And you keep on doing this, it eventually cripples the entire thing falls. But if you can have a situation where a collectively bargained agreement, where it's like, okay, this is how much money college football brings in. This is the most amount of money you can pay for kids. The university gets this much, half goes to the kids. The university would always have their portion. The kids would always have their portion. And that's how it can be a balanced situation. Where right now, where there's no salary cap, no regulations, you can have a chancellor or a school president or a coach just say, you know what, the hell with the future of Georgia. I want to win right now. I'm going to burn it down because I want to win now. And we'll figure out what happens in 2035 later on down the road. But I'm worried about this year, right now, and just really put a university in massive debt that they can't recover from. That's why. So I know I'm talking on both sides, because yes, I think the players deserve to be paid, but there needs to be some regulation so there's a balance.
I gotcha.
So, all right. I was just impressed that I actually just had this on my phone. Wasn't even planning on pulling this up. But I just so happened to have like the whole list of the highest grossing schools and how much money they make, and the schools that lose the most money. And it's a rough place there.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. It's like I'm watching a telenovela with all of this happening.
It is, because it is cutthroat. It is
Hmm.
absolutely cutthroat. And everyone is like, hey, we need more players because we need more money from the television contracts.
Hmm.
Schools are like, get me the heck out of this university. We're only getting 30
Yeah.
something $1 million.
Hmm.
We want more than that. We want 5 times that or whatever it is. And it's just turning, greed is destroying college athletics.
Yep. Yep. All about money. All right. Well, guys, with that, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be discussing the CBB insiders preparing for expanded NCAA tournament, which is likely 72 or 76 teams. But stay tuned and we'll be right back.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing the complicated world of college athletics with the NCAA. Had warns that 95% of student athletes face extinction if colleges actually have to pay them as employees. And now we're going to be discussing the CBB insiders preparing for the expanded NCAA tournament. But before we do that, I just wanted to ask that you guys like and follow the show. We get a number of questions that come in from the viewers during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tip and donation link is gsmcpodcast.net. Just put your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also just really helps the show.
I just learned how to spell Bucky's. Do you want to explain that?
So for y'all who has seen the show before,
Y'all.
you guys know, y'all, y'all. I'm from the South, y'all. Yes.
I'm sorry, Faith. I apologize.
For you guys that have tuned into the show before, you know that Tate and I will sometimes have conversations during the break through our little chat box, and Tate sent a message saying that he was hungry, and I said that I was hungry too, and then I guess he was saying go to Bucky's. I don't know. He said Bucky's question mark.
Bucky's? Want to meet at Bucky's?
But he spelled it wrong, and he spelled it let's see, Buckees. And as someone who has been to Bucky's before, it is incorrect. Bucky's
I've
is
never
spelled,
been to Bucky's.
Bucky's is spelled B-U-C. I'm pretty sure there's a dash and then C-E-E''S. So
I've just heard, you told me about buck nuggets. That's all I know, and I think it's hilarious.
Buck nuggets, yep. And their brisket. They're known for their brisket. I did not divulge in their brisket.
People love it. Like, ever since then, people have like talked to me about, like, numerous people have sent me messages about Bucky's, and it's really good. I can't believe you've never been to Bucky's, and this, and this, and this.
Oh, I actually spelled it wrong, actually. It's B-U-C-E-E''S. So I also spelled it wrong. But mine was closer. Mine was closer than yours.
I'm just saying, send a brother some buck nuggets to Portugal.
Buc-ee's is like 2 hours away from where I'm at. I'm not going to drive 2 hours to get you buck nuggets and then send them to you.
You know what? I'll just wait till that Wendy's surge prices happen. You got to start going to Buc-ee's and you'll send me something.
Oh gosh. Alrighty. Well, we got off a little off topic there. So, the CBV insiders are preparing for an expanded NCAA tournament, likely to be 72 or 76 teams. The men's NCAA basketball tournament could expand beyond the current field of 68 teams. According to Dana O'Neill of The Athletic, college basketball insiders are prepping for a larger field that could become official in the very near future. While there may not be a major expansion, adding a few more teams to the tournament appears to be an option. O'Neill noted that a 72 or 76 team field seems the most likely outcome. While the prospect of growing to include close to 100 schools has been discussed among fans, it doesn't appear that including such a vast amount of teams in the future tournaments is a possibility. So,
okay, how do you feel about this, Faith?
how do I feel about this? I
You're like, don't matter to me.
I'm not really
buck nuggets.
I'm not really a basketball person, so I don't normally keep up with college basketball or NBA or anything like that. So I didn't even know the current amount of teams that competed.
It's kind of okay. It used to be 64. Then they started having play-in tournaments. Play-in games and things of that nature. And originally, I wasn't even going to cover this, but I've seen so many people on other shows that are losing their rabbit mind over this. That this is the end of college basketball as we know it.
Because they're adding teams?
Yes, it's going to destroy the college March Madness and all this stuff. And it's like, listen, there are like the world of college athletics has changed and people have to change with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm for increasing it. You know, it's one of those things where there are, I don't even remember how many college basketball teams there are. Look up real quick how many teams are eligible to or Division I college basketball teams there are. I think there's at least 150, 200 teams. Do you know? Let's see how fast Faith is with her looking up information here. Anything?
There are 351 schools that are members of 32 Division I basketball conferences, plus 10 more that are in transition from NCAA Division II and also in transition from NCAA Division III.
So there's more than 300 and what?
51.
351, and there's more than that because of some of the other divisions.
Mm-hmm.
And people are losing their mind because there's going to be 70 or so. I'm open to the whole thing where instead of it should be like 125 or something like that. So that, okay, half the teams or a little bit less than half the teams would make it with 120 something teams making it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's a small percentage of the 350. So, are actually making it into the NCAA tournament. By expanding it, it opens the doors so that more schools can get in. The great thing about college basketball is, one, just being able to get to the tournament and the sense of pride of making the NCAA tournament. I remember going to the University of Akron. Did I even think we had a shot at winning the national championship? We had 0.0 chance of winning. I was not delusional about that whatsoever, but I was a proud Zip, and my team had made it to March Madness, and we could not wait to watch the game. And we got dog walk. Yes, we did. But the fact is, we were able to go, and that's one of my great memories. And all these new, there's a lot more schools that are eligible for the NCAA tournament, but making it only 64 or 68 teams making it when there's over 350 to 400 schools is not right. And also, these schools and these universities, as we just talked about, money is, as name, image, and likeness is coming into play on basketball as well. These schools have to make the NCAA tournament because that's where the real money's at. When you make the tournament, there's a big payday there. Opening that up to some of these smaller schools makes it so that more schools get to make it. Also, everyone loves the early rounds because the Cinderella story. The small school knocks off the big school. That's where it happens. Go ahead. What are you going to say, Faith?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, the fact that there are 351 schools and right now only 68 teams do March Madness. That's such a small number, in my opinion, and it needs to be a lot larger number, because how can you decide from 351 schools that only 68 of them get to go to the tournament? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. It's not fair. And the real money, the money is getting into the NCAA tournament. So if you're Buchtel or some small school, Bucknell, or any of those schools, or Cleveland State, being able to make it to the tournament, I mean, for communities, not only does it bring television dollars, but to, all the people that comes to these regional games fly in because they haven't seen Cleveland State make it to March Madness in 20 years. So they're all going there, and it injects money into these cities where these regional games are played. It gives them these universities money. It helps the kids where maybe they can get some little extra endorsement money, name, image, and likeness. It helps some of these programs that are teetering on, hey, we're losing money. Some of these programs are losing money, but when they make it to March Madness, that's the money they need to get from in the red to having a successful program. It opens up doors, and it's not like they're saying, oh my God, let everyone in. We're just saying, I'm saying, let half the teams in. Not all of them, just half. 120 or 125 schools get in. You have you're not adding another round, because when they have the play-in games, that round already exists. We're not saying, hey, it's going to add an extra 2 weeks onto the March Madness tournament.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask if you think that people are so upset about it because March Madness is going to be so much longer than what it is.
It is not. The play-in tournament, not play-in, but the play-in games, they already happened right before the tournament happens. Okay. Now, just make it so everyone has that round. Instead of it being some other schools, there's a small group of teams that have to play a game, and then they win, and then they have to turn around, and then they have to play another game right away. Well, just make everyone have to play that game and then play the next round so that it's fair for everyone. More teams get in, and there's more money for some of these universities. There's a lot of very small universities out there that depend on it. And Gonzaga and things like that. I remember before, no one even knew who Gonzaga was, but because they were able to make it to the March Madness, they did a couple of upsets. Their program grew, and now Gonzaga is a real program. They're a major. They become a college basketball, might I say, blue blood. Well, other universities deserve that same opportunity. And by expanding the tournament just a round that already exists, we're not saying add 4 more rounds to it. They're already playing the play-in games. Just make it so everyone has a play-in game. Wouldn't extend it. And even if you did, even let's say you tried to say, hey, why don't we just kick it out a couple extra days? Okay, you kick it out an extra 3 days. It's not the end of the world. So that's the reason why I am pro it. And there's so many guys, when I watch the other sports stations out there, and this is the way it has always been. It's just gonna ruin it. Well, it's already been ruined. When they start, it used to be 64. It used to be 32, then 64. Then, and 64 was like the perfect number. Then they started having play-in games. And now they're already doing that round. Give everyone that chance. Give a lot more schools a chance, because where it's going to benefit the bigger universities, yes, they're going to make more money. The Big 12 is going to make more money. The ACC is going to make more money. The Big 10 and all those guys. But there's going to be a lot of, Missouri Valley Conference and these other conferences out here that's going to get in. They're going to have more players and more teams in, which builds notoriety, team pride, going to bring in more money. Like, even when, like, use an example, when I was in college and University of Akron made the tournament. Okay, there was a whole group of people that were so excited. They got on a plane and they flew to March Madness. They bought tickets, they bought hotels, they bought jerseys and shirts and everything else, which then helps the college football community, helps that community that's having that region. But I remember I didn't go to the game. So when the game was on, they opened up the basketball arena, they turned the Jumbotron on, and you got to watch the game at the basketball stadium. And there was thousands of people there buying drinks and buying food and cheering on their team. And it was awesome. All universities should have that opportunity to be able to play. I'm not saying let everyone in, but expand it so that it's not only the haves, but some of the have-nots get to experience that in their lifetime.
Also, like, wouldn't you make more money?
Yes.
So why are we so upset about this? You're gonna make
in
more
a
money.
world where people are literally blowing up conferences. There's no Southwest Conference anymore. There's no Big East football conference anymore. There's no Pac-12 conference anymore. Strictly because people were trying to chase the almighty dollar, trying to get a bigger television contract here, get more money there. But now you're going to draw the line at basketball? Hey, we can't mess with our basketball. Nope. Come on.
Yeah,
these small schools are going to, have a chance to experience something that maybe they would not have normally had a chance to do. I love it. I'm pro it. And so where everyone else is saying poo-poo, I'm saying let's do this.
I honestly agree with you. The fact, 351 schools and only 68 right now get to go to the tournament. I feel like it should be a way bigger number than what it is right now.
Absolutely.
So I agree.
You're talking about, and it's not like, okay, there's a small group. There's 64 teams, but then there's a couple play-in games. Just add this, when everyone's doing the play-in games, everyone has that same round. They turn around to the next day, they play another game. They got back-to-backs. Basketball, you can do back-to-backs. Baseball, this isn't football where people, it takes them a week to 2 weeks to recover. Listen, you can do a double header in basketball. You can hoop it up in the morning and dunk it at night. It's so
Period.
so I'm okay.
Oh gosh,
So
hoop it up in the
that's my
morning and
take.
dunk it at night. Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be discussing the Big 12 and the ACC coaches who are not too keen on the idea of the CFP buys for the SEC and the Big 10. So stick around.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing the expected expansion of the NCAA tournament, and now we're going to be discussing the Big Ten and the SEC, who are not too keen on the idea of the CFP buys for the SEC and Big Ten. Who saw this coming?
Oh.
I did.
You know, I'm doing something here. I'm just gonna let people in on something doing what I would let. I haven't even told you, Faith, what I'm doing. So I was just kind of curious. I have never done this, so I went through while we were on break, and I pulled our show up while the live feed is going on. So I see you, and now I see you. So you're on both screens. You're up. And the reason why I did this is because so many times I have to go back and watch the show to see the pictures and the graphics that you will put up sometime.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm like, you know what? I want to see if I can pull this off today. So that's all. I just thought I'd share. Now,
Yeah.
let's talk about more grumpy old men being
upset.
pissed off about change.
Yeah. Okay, so the Big 12 and the ACC coaches are not too keen on the idea of the CFP buys for the SEC and Big 10. The college football playoff hasn't unveiled its first 12-team field yet, but discussions on a 14-team competition beginning in 2026 are already raising eyebrows among the Big 12 and ACC coaches. In the 12-team playoff structure, the 5 highest-ranked conferences champions are guaranteed a spot in the bracket, and the 4 highest ranked conference winners will earn a first round bye. But sources told ESPN that one 14-team model that is being considered includes provisions for the SEC and Big Ten to get 3 automatic qualifiers each, and the only 2 buys for their conference champions. Automatic first-round buys for the Big Ten and SEC is like the NFL saying the Cowboys get a first-round bye since they have more fans than the Bengals. TCU coach Sonny Dykes told ESPN. How preposterous is that? Dykes' 2022 Horned Frogs, the Big 12 runner-up, beat Big Ten champion Michigan in a CFP semifinal at the Fiesta Bowl. Under this proposal, Michigan would have a bye as the league's champion. Coaches don't have the power to change the format. That lies with their respective commissioners and ultimately the presidents and chancellors of the CFP board. Their feedback, though, is a part of the process along with that of athletic directors and university presidents. Sources have cautioned that nothing is done yet, but several coaches told ESPN that they aren't fans of this new proposal.
Okay. I agree with them.
I agree with them as well.
All right, Diane, good night, everybody.
Move on.
Tip the band. All right. Okay. They're right.
Absolutely.
What the Big Ten and the SEC wants to do is wrong.
I agree.
What the Big Ten and the SEC wants to do is bad for college football in general.
Yeah. It's not fair.
Now,
Not a fair playing field, in my opinion.
I'm going to get off my soapbox right there. Okay. That's where I'm going to stop and get off, because everything he said is correct. And I'm going to tell you this. This is strictly speculation, everyone. So don't get upset with me. And Faith, do not jump through the screen and choke me. But I believe if Michigan would have got a first round bye and would not have had to play TCU, they would have beat Georgia in the national championship game. And Georgia would not be. I thought Michigan was the team that could beat them. Ooh, it's like. And
you told me not to jump through the screen. So.
But Michigan did not have an automatic bye. And guess what? They didn't deserve an automatic bye whatsoever. They didn't deserve an automatic bye. They rolled up into TCU thinking we shouldn't even have to play TCU. They're beneath us, all this stuff. They took them for granted and they got their butts whooped. And so they didn't deserve to go to the national championship because they didn't earn it on the field. And that's a Michigan fan saying that. They didn't deserve it. Same with these buys. Just because you have SEC on your shirt or Big Ten on your shirt does not give you the right to have an automatic bye. It's bad for college sports. It is just flat out bad. It's greedy what they're doing by saying, hey, we want 3 of this and 3 of this. But where I'm saying I'm going to get off my soapbox is because of the fact that I have no choice. That 3, the model where the SEC is going to get 3 and the Big Ten is going to get 3, that's happening. I understand that. So I'm off my soapbox on why teams, this whole 3 and 3. But this whole now they're like they said, the most popular teams or the team with the biggest brand actually gets to get a bye is not fair because, hey, here's, this is what they should do. Okay, we'll sign this agreement, but you have to sign if any of our schools get to the point that we have more viewerships than you do, we're the bigger brand, hence the ACC back when Miami and Florida State was kicking everybody's butt in the 90s. What happens if Florida State and so guess what? Hey, SEC, sorry, you no longer get that bye. You no longer get 3 teams. Now the ACC is going to get 3 teams. Make it so that everyone can shift. The whole point I'm getting at is it's wrong that they're using their ability to put themselves in a better situation. That's what a commissioner of a university or a conference is supposed to do, is to look out for their conference and get the best deal possible. But I feel like these guys are going too far. They're going too far. They're asking for too much. It's bad enough now, we get 3 teams, everybody else gets 1 team or no teams, or these other 2 conferences, they get 2, but us Big Ten and SEC, we get 3. That's already favoritism there. But now you're going to be like, nope, we don't even have to play in the first round. Do you understand how big of an advantage that is? When you look at the fact that football is a physical sport, it sometimes takes a week to 2 weeks to recover from a game. I mean, from one game, just the pain and the sore muscles and the aches, pains, and bruises. Now, not to mention that, hey, injuries happen a lot in college football. But, hey, the SEC and the Big Ten champ, they get to wait an extra 2-3 weeks before they play to make sure, hey, when Georgia steps on the field, they're as healthy as can be. But Utah, who happened to be in the Pac-12, they had to win their Pac-12 championship They had a couple players get injured. Then they had to go in and they had to play a first round game, and they got a couple more players injured. And there's good old fresh Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State or Michigan. It's just wrong.
I think this is so stupid. I think this is so stupid. To me, it seems like the SEC and the Big Ten are trying to monopolize college football. And I think it's so stupid and so unfair.
This thing has swayed time after time. Once upon a time, there was a point in the 90s where the Pac-12 was the dominant conference, and USC was killing people. Then there was a time where Miami and Florida State were at the top of college football in the 80s and the 90s. There was a point where the Big Ten was dominating. There's a point just recently where Alabama and the SEC were the dominant one. And it changes from time to time. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to cook the books, because it's never gonna stay that way. Eventually, the Big 12 is gonna rise again, or the ACC is gonna rise again. And so I feel like they're trying to cook the books to make it so these guys can never rise up again. That is so it's so tipped in their favor that no one will ever be able to do it again.
Let's talk about Notre Dame too. What happens with Notre Dame?
Well, Notre Dame always gets their little special treatment. Notre Dame, in this particular case, on the 3-3-2-2-1 approach, the one is Notre Dame. Notre Dame, if Notre Dame's in the top 14, they automatically get a bid. They automatically get 10.
This is so stupid. This is so stupid.
Yes. Now, let's shift this around. Let's look at Florida State last year. Florida State did everything they're supposed to do. But because they lost their quarterback, nope, you can't play in the college football playoff. Imagine if that was Georgia. You would be heated. And everybody in Athens would be heated.
Yeah.
Or Michigan or whomever. Now, here's another one. You're Georgia, but now let's say it's the ACC. And ACC gets automatic bids. It's going to be Clemson, and it's going to be Florida State, and North Carolina automatically gets in. And Clemson, who already has 2 losses anyway. Georgia's ran the table. Georgia's undefeated, but they got to play week 1 while Clemson rests, because they're in a different conference, and they get to be fresh and ready for Georgia, who has to play a tough school. And then they play, and now Georgia loses because Clemson had an unfair advantage by having a bye. Would make you incredibly upset. Yeah. People in Georgia would be livid. But Absolutely. that's what they want. The SEC wants their bye. The Big Ten wants their bye, and they're working together to do this. And right now, these other universities have no leg to stand on, because of 2 people. Florida State is the first one, who has these lawsuits, and they're trying to break up the SEC, the ACC, weakens the SEC, weakens the Big 12. ESPN, who has these big contracts with the SEC, and Fox and CBS, who has the contract with the Big Ten. These television organizations, these television companies should have nothing to do with, hey, what teams we want in this conference. Hey, we have to make sure we get our investment. So we want the SEC to get this. We want the Big Ten to get this. The television contracts should be completely separate from this. ESPN should not even be considered in this. Nor what it should be, okay, let's do this conference. All the conference champions get in. As I told you, I would have the 8 team. Every conference gets a winner. The top conferences, all 4 top conferences, all get a bye. And then there's 8 at-large bids. 16-team playoff. Everyone gets in. but it's fair. No one wants to talk about what's fair, because even when you look at any of the models, it's never fair because it doesn't represent all the Division I schools. No one really wants it to be fair because the group of five, they have their own conferences and they play their own seasons. Why don't they get an automatic bid? No one wants to make it fair. When you look at, when the last segment we're talking about college basketball adding more teams, the more teams you get, the more people, other schools have opportunities to win. At least it becomes a little bit more fair.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of everyone being selfish and looking out for their own interests, they should look at what's the best thing for college football, what's the best thing for college basketball. Because I think if people really looked at it, they would see this model is bad all the way around.
Yep. Ooh, mercy. Oh, the joys of the reality TV show of college athletics.
Yep, you are.
They
100%
really need
right.
to. Do you know how much money I would pay to watch like an actual like real reality TV show with all of this going down? And I would.
It
watch
doesn't even
it?
seem real.
No.
Hey, the Conference of Champion, the conference that's been around for 100 years and have some of the biggest brands of all, hey, they're going to break up because one wants to be on TV more. You know, we're going to leave one of our partners that's been with us for, 50, 60 years. We're going to leave two of them behind. It's like leaving your own two of your kids behind. They're defending for themselves. We're all going to go our own way. Florida State, who's, been a part of this whole thing since the beginning, they're like, no, we don't want to be with you anymore. We want to go down south to the SEC, or we want to go up north to the Big Ten. It's crazy what is going on here, and it's not good.
Mm-mm.
So now we've gotten rid of all the messiness. Give me some of that candy, some of that easy stuff, that oddity stuff.
The good stuff.
Some of the good.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss our oddities of the day, so make sure you stick around. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing the Big Ten and SEC coaches not keen on the idea of the CFP buys for the SEC and Big Ten. And now, as always, at the end of the show, we have our oddities of the day.
Brought to you by Buck Nuggets. Listen, we need an endorsement from Buc-ee's. We've been talking about Buc-ee's too much.
We've talked about Buc-ee's a lot. Yeah, that
Buc-ee's
is true.
need to cut us a check.
Not sponsored by.
Yes, we're not sponsored by Buck Nuggets,
Oh,
but we
gosh.
want to.
Yeah, send us all the Buck Nuggets.
Listen, ship me a box of Buck Nuggets to Portugal during the show. I'll just sit here and just chew on Buck Nuggets. I don't even know what they look like.
I think
Now I
they're
gotta find
called
them.
beaver nuggets and not buck nuggets.
You the one started this whole buck nuggets.
I think they're beaver. Yeah, they're beaver nuggets. They're
You're the one called them Bucky Beaver Nuggets. You're the one called them. That's why. Because, okay.
well, I couldn't remember correctly.
All right, I'm going to tell you. I started making fun of you in my own way because it's like butt nuggets. So I'm like, butt nuggets. Sorry. But that's what I'm
Beaver nuggets.
They're beaver nuggets.
Yes, because
I don't even know if that's a
beaver.
better name either.
I wouldn't say that.
None of these make you
I
feel
wouldn't
real
say
good.
that it is, but you know, that's a topic for an after hours episode.
This is the topic we're gonna have. The episode where everyone's just doing shots where they're talking about the topics on.
You wouldn't want that from me.
We're worried about the FCC violations when we have Faith doing shots on air.
You don't want that.
I wouldn't get in any trouble. I'd be passed out in the corner somewhere. It'd just be Faith going off on her own tangent about beaver nuggets.
Okay, all right. So for our oddity of the day, we have a groom who wore Apple Vision Pros on his wedding day as his wife is creeped out. Her face says it all. So, do you know what the Apple Vision Pro is?
What do you think I am, like 200? Of course I know that.
I was asking.
I'm
You don't
joking
have
with
an
you.
you don't have an iPhone. You don't use Apple products. So I
No,
was
I
just
do
asking.
not. But yes, I do.
Okay, so
Like, I was just watching a thing about this, and they were talking about how there's so many other products that are better than that one. Because I've been tempted myself. Ooh, look at the look you just gave me. What?
I don't
Why
love
did you give me that look?
I don't love the idea of them. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay. I thought you were just creeped out about the fact that I was thinking about getting one to try it out.
No. So for you guys who don't know what an Apple Vision Pro is, it's basically like one of those VR headsets. But you don't have like any controls or anything like that. You just like tap the air and you can hit your apps or whatever. But it's basically just your phone on your eyes, essentially, is what it is. I don't like it. I think it's stupid, and we're just moving more and more towards Black Mirror episodes. But that's just my opinion.
There was a video of a guy, and he was walking down the street. I think it was in New York or somewhere. Mm-hmm. And he had his Apple Vision Pro glasses on, walking down the street, and he was trying to do all the stuff. And it was like, listen, fool, do this in your privacy of your own home.
Yeah.
You know, that's all you need to be able to walk in down there doing your thing, and a bus hits you.
Yep. That's so true.
Then you can watch your funeral on your Apple Vision Pro.
Alrighty. So, a California software engineer infuriated his new wife when he sported his Apple Vision Pro headset during their wedding day. Jacob Wright, a tech engineer for a startup AI company, wore the $3,500 headset along his elegant bride, Cambry, in front of a scenic Utah mountain range as the couple celebrated their nuptials on February 10th. In the couple's wedding photos, Cambry Wright shot a disgusted look as she held her flower bouquet while the tech worker was seemingly in his own world. I try not to look because it's a little creepy. It's a little uncanny, Cambry said. When he's in the Apple Vision Pro, I let him do his thing. The Apple Vision Pro is a virtual reality headset that can display digital content within a person's physical space. When wearing, we already talked, yada, yada, yada. At one point, Cambry...
Yada, 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 yada.
Yada, yada, yada. At one point, Cambry said she had to guard Wright's headset during the photo shoot because she was afraid Wright would try to wear it during the actual wedding ceremony. Wright, who bought the headset days after it was released, desperately asked Cambry if he could wear it during their ceremony. She struck down his request, only allowing him to wear it at the reception. he was like, "Hey baby, can we get pictures with the Apple Vision Pro camera you recalled?" He probably asked me 2 or 3 times. I was like, no, 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 we have to wait. And then I turn around 1 minute and he has it on. Jacob Wright then hit the dance floor fully equipped with the white 2-pound headset strapped to his face. I have a video of me there with all the bridesmaids, all the groomsmen, everyone who came to the ceremony, he said. I think that'll be a super awesome to show our kids in 20 years.
All right. Let me jump in with the kid part here. You understand who Charles Darwin is, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that is, the strong survive. Here's a pretty much
survival of the fittest. Yes.
Survival of the fittest, strong survive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is one of those moments that a modern day situation of this.
Mm-hmm.
When his wife, his girl, and he was like, "Baby, I want to wear my Apple Vision Pro to the wedding." That should have taught you, warned you that this nerd is going to be eating chicken nuggets, top ramen, and that is going to be your life. You do not want to marry this loser, and you definitely don't want to have kids with him. No procreation for you. No wedding for you. Off with your head. Am I wrong?
No, I agree. I feel like it definitely, him wanting to wear this thing on what's supposed to be your one of the most important days of your life shows how he feels about that relationship, in my opinion.
It's just, here's the thing. In a relationship, I say this all the time, and I know it sounds bad, but when in doubt, throw his butt out. Throw her butt out. If he's sitting there all the time with the Apple Vision Pro, drinking Yoo-hoo and popping chicken nuggets, that is not the dude you want to have kids with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Swipe left and move on. You need to get on Tinder and find you a new dude.
It's very much a red flag. I agree.
I'm sorry. No. Unless Apple is cutting me a check, a real check.
I mean, it does, in his defense a little bit, it does make sense as to why he's, so about this, because he's a tech engineer for a startup AI company.
All right, so, I'm going to cut you right there.
I'm trying to play both sides of this.
At your wedding, I want you walking down the aisle doing an episode of the Andrew Tate Show. Just because it's in your career path. And that will be the
day that I quit.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. When that loser said, "Hey, can I wear that?" It's not like he works for Apple and this wedding is brought to you by Apple and the new house that you has was they donated the house and the car and this whole thing is sponsored by Apple. Then I'm like, get your check on, my man. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go there. I'll put a tux on. I'll have my Apple Vision Pros on too, because you're getting a check. But just because you like the product, let this dude go.
Yeah.
Swipe right, swipe left, get you a new man.
Unless an Apple Vision Pro is like a party favor for everybody at the wedding, if you have that much money, unless everybody is getting one, Oprah, you get a Vision Pro.
I'm down with that. I'm down with that. That's everyone has them.
If everyone has one, then that would be different. But he's the only one. And he looks ridiculous. These things look ridiculous. They are giant goggles on your head.
This mouth breather walking around with giant goggles on, sipping on Yoo-hoo, and leaving his wife by herself as he's older. No, you gotta let this dude go. Yeah. This is a sign that he was actually doing this lady a favor. You know how you just drop little hints here and there that, hey, I'm not marriage material. Well, this is the last hurdle. Hey, I'm not marriage material because I'm here in front of all your friends and family on your special day, and I'm over here. No, out. Cancel Christmas on his butt.
Yeah. So he also faced a lot of backlash on the internet, which, I mean, rightfully so. He's getting backlash from us.
Well,
So
he's getting backlash from the wrong people. He should be getting backlash
from his wife.
his ex-girlfriend, not his wife. His
No, they're married.
ex-girlfriend.
They
No,
got
I
married.
get that because she should not have married his butt.
Yeah.
It should have been his ex-girlfriend, not wife.
Yeah. But some of the comments on X or Twitter, someone said, "What's the return policy on husbands?"
Exactly.
Someone else said, "The divorce papers are already happening."
But you could send him. You could kind of airdrop him into his Apple Vision Pro, like.
Well, here's
divorce sucker.
here's another one that's kind of like that as well. It said, "Just finishing up the prenup real quick, and we should be good and done." Yes, I do.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, I'm not even doing the prenup. I want this. No, you should not. You should not want to procreate with this guy. What's okay? If you're gonna show up, Faith, if you're gonna show up at the wedding and you're gonna be Apple Vision Proing that, guess what? When the little bambino comes popping out, he's gonna miss it. He's gonna be like, "Oh, I got my, I'm doing this little babies, the little juniors jumping out," and he's over here looking. Nope, don't want to
Yeah.
have a kid with this guy.
Yep.
Hit him with the deuces and bounce out.
I need to get like a little red flag to wave around for when we
Yes.
hear stories like this.
You know what? I'm pro. I think you should. This should be a red flag moment.
Yeah.
If a guy takes you to a dumpster on a first date for food,
God.
hit him with the deuces, bounce out. If a guy shows up with an Apple Vision Pro and wants to do it at the wedding, wants to wear it at the wedding, that's another sign.
Yeah.
See ya. Also, if a guy eats too much black bean and gets an explosive situation on the side.
Oh no, poor guy. No, he
I'm
was trying.
sorry. I'm sorry. You can't come back from that, Faith. I don't care
They
how
dated.
awesome he is.
They dated for 6 months after that, so it seemed like he could come back from that.
You know,
It is
that dude
possible.
Do you know what kind of game you got to have to survive that situation? When you ate a tub of black bean and you explode on the side of their house, and I don't mean explode as in like,
Combust.
upward. It's your lower third, let's just say.
Yeah.
And he survived it. That's called game. That dude has
It's
game.
called game. Yep.
Because I want to hear the words that he said to make this go by. No one is safe with this guy. If he can survive that, no one is safe.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Apple Vision Pro, dude. He was just given a warning. She should have never married him.
Yeah.
I don't care. Because as people get married and start settling in, more of their true self comes out. Also, people tend, as they get older, they get lazier.
Yeah.
Is there anything lazier than, hey, I don't want to take my Apple Vision Pro glasses off of me?
Yeah.
This dude's going to be sitting in the living room asking for her to heat up the nuggets.
I will say, like, yes, when it comes to, like, planning a wedding and everything like that, there are compromises because, of course, both of the partners want to have a say in that, but this should have been an automatic no. And if you show up to our wedding with this on your face, we are not getting married.
I agree. You get no heat from me. Maybe we should have matched him up with the woman that charged everybody to come to the wedding.
Oh, for their wedding? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
that way they can buy each other more Vision Pros.
And you know what? Here's the thing. I would have a different take on this whole thing if they walked in and they had the Apple Vision Pro on and all his groomsmen had it on, and then the minister, he throws his on, and the bride, and they do this whole VR wedding, then I'm like 10 out of 10.
Yeah, that would be different. But it was just him.
That's Nerdapalooza, but it's awesome.
No,
But
it was
when
just him wearing
we
it.
party of one,
Yeah.
Let him go. It's time to cut him loose.
Time to be like Elsa and let him go.
Yes, exactly.
That's a terrible joke. I'm so sorry.
But I understand.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna end the show with that really bad joke because I'm kind of embarrassed that I even uttered that. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning into the Andrew Tate Show presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.